Welcome to the All Ambient podcast, where we dig into the creative process, hear untold stories, and explore the brilliant minds behind some of the finest ambient music out there. I'm your host, Mike Graff. I'm excited to be in this together with you. Let's get going. Again, welcome to the All Ambient podcast, everyone. My name is Mike Graff. I make music as Dear Gravity. So very happy to be here together with you. And today I had a chance to sit down once again with our friend Christopher Galovan. Christopher is a prolific musician and I really appreciate his heart. But I wanted to talk to him specifically today about his approach on video content that he's putting out on his social media musician pages. His approach feels very different, and the heartbeat of it feels like it's coming from a more holistic place than perhaps some of what you might have seen out there. I wanted to pick his brain and to help find the heartbeat behind what makes it different and what his approach is, and it was just a really great conversation. Let's dig right into it right now, my conversation with Christopher Galovan. Folks, it is great to be together once again with Christopher Galovan. Chris, thank you so much for making another appearance on the All Ambient podcast. Glad to have you back.
It's great to be here.
Oh man, as if the first time wasn't wonderful enough. Round two felt very appropriate. So glad to be together for sure.
Yeah,
how have you been, man? I know we just caught up a little bit before we hit the record button, but how are things? As of now, we are kind of in the middle, both you and I, of the fall season and all that. Yeah. How is fall in rural Sweden these days?
Fall
autumn. Yes.
Autumn. It's a very special season for me. Like, it's so beautiful. All the leaves change colors, and it's also the season that I fell in love with my wife. It's like, so this is like, it just comes with all these wonderful memories and feelings.
Yeah.
And I proposed to her, like, I think last week.
Yeah. I love it.
11 years ago. So
congrats on that.
It's a beautiful, I'm just looking out the window now, just like, it's beautiful nature. And also it's like a time when it gets colder, and that brings me into the studio and I get a lot of creativity during those periods.
Yes, very much so. Time to hibernate and a little bit and get some work done. That's great. You and I have that in common. I proposed to my wife in October as well. And October is also our anniversary month, and October is also her birthday month.
Oh, wow.
So
October is great.
I'm with you. It's a good month to celebrate. It's great. Oh man, I agree with you. I was perhaps a little bit more lenient than I have been in previous years with myself over the summer, with our kids being the age that they're at, and we just enjoyed a lot of time together. But now, yes, settling into the fall, and as things get a little colder, and it is going to be a nice season to create some great stuff. So looking forward to that. As I was just setting up this morning, was listening not only to your latest Echoes in the Valley entry, which was just beautiful. I was like, man, Chris's ambient game is just on point. I love this. You. But also was spinning the collab EP Inhale Exhale, was chewing over that again. And it reminded me, that was with, who did you do that one with again?
Yeah, it was with the cellist Artie Sun.
Yes, Artie. Oh, man,
cellist.
So talented. Yeah, it was just so nice to have that on, and as I was just kind of waking up and all that. But man, you've got I love your kind of the piano ostinato approach that you did on a couple of those songs. And I've been monkeying around with some more piano stuff and how to stretch myself beyond kind of where I've gone with piano. Just, when you put your hands on the keyboard, like what do you just naturally do? And not that that's a bad thing, but I've also been trying to push myself further than that. And so just even hearing what you were doing, I was like, it just felt very intentional and very beautiful and fit the moment perfectly.
Yeah, it's a very special EP, that Inhale Exhale, because we made it. He actually drove here from the Netherlands.
Oh, you did?
So we were in
together.
the studio, we were in person for a week, and we made the EP. So I've never done that since, like, we're all kind of like on the other side of the world of each other. He came here, and it's something special sitting in a room in that creative moment.
Yeah. I love that, man. Remind me, because we had a chat a while ago on the podcast. I feel like you may have either already, like that may have just happened or it was about to happen.
Yeah, we were probably in the mixing process or something like that.
Yeah, so cool. So it was still very fresh, not even out into the world yet, but there's something really special there, man. That's not even where I thought we were going to go with, and we've got other stuff to talk about, but I'm totally with you. There is something unique about just being in the same space with each other. And I love collabing like over the internet and the fact, that you and we've done some great things together and we've reworked each other's stuff and hint, hint, there's even some stuff coming in the future. You've got a great project, which is wonderful. As amazing as technology is with the ability to collab with people all over the planet and to do it through, just cloud download, all that stuff. There, of course, is something very special about just being in the same room, about remind yourself, not only on the creative side where, you are real time responding to each other and you're getting some feedback on how your parts are influencing Artie, how Artie's parts are influencing just that dialogue there. But then also like sometimes it's just really nice to remind yourself that there's another human on the other end of that email or on the other end of that piano piece, or like we're all on this journey together and we're all trying to just, be the best at what we do to steward our creating to the best ability. And just being in person is really special. So it turned out great. I love
thank you.
that
Thank
EP,
you.
man.
Me too. Yeah. The beautiful thing about collabing is like my favorite parts of a collab is the things that I didn't do.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, that would never happen if I did that alone.
Yeah. Tell me more about that. Were there moments along the journey where Artie was just kind of pleasantly surprising you with stuff?
Yeah, but he's like classically trained and loves these cinematic stuff. And I'm not musically trained in any kind of way more than by ear.
Sure.
So it's like that skill that he has came from a place where I was not capable. And then I added my peaceful stuff and who I am onto that.
Exactly. You bring it together and it made something really special. Thank you for releasing End of the World. Turned out really well, man.
Thank you.
Well, Chris, one of the main reasons that I wanted to loop back with you is I wanted to talk about the world of releasing video content into specifically kind of into the social media space. And I wanted to talk with you about it because not only have you done a great job with it, definitely, I'm just looking at it as a total admirer. I look at it and you're inspiring me, you're inspiring a lot of people and just kind of bringing some fresh approaches to the video content. Content's kind of a tough word because sometimes it can kind of make it feel like it's not special. So to bring video into the social space, you've been doing just an awesome job with it. And yet I know, and even just from, sidebar conversations together, that doesn't mean that everything is all of a sudden easy, or that doesn't mean that everything is all of a sudden skyrocketing in that department or, spiking algorithms or whatever. I would love to just talk a little bit about what that balance looks like for you. Because maybe to start, we can just talk a little bit about some of the different types of videos that you've been putting out into, and we're talking kind of specifically on your Christopher Galovan artist thread and all that. So talk a little bit about what those videos are and kind of the thought process behind that. But then to go a little bit further, and me by now, is that I'm always asking the question of like, how do I balance creating these videos and how does that feed into my desire to keep creating music, to keep composing and producing and recording? And does one feed the other, or is one just kind of a means to the end so that I can keep doing music and all that? So that's kind of where I want to go with it. But let's start with...
That's a big question.
And you need to answer it in 4 minutes or less and go. No, of course, a joke. But let's start at the beginning. Tell me a little bit about when you sort of shifted into a different mode of thinking for the videos that you're putting out on your artist social. And then tell me a little bit about, because I see a few different specific, if you want to call them buckets, or different specific, like here's sort of this kind of video that Chris is putting out and here's this kind of video. Maybe you're thinking about it that way, maybe you're not, but would love to hear a little bit more about the actual kind of the nuts and bolts of what you are actually putting out there. So
I must start to say, like, honestly, it's a struggle, and I've been thinking about it a lot. It's still a process. So anyone who's listening, just, this is like my opinion and my thoughts and my struggle. And it doesn't mean that what I say is the answer. I'm just sharing my struggle. And you've seen me struggle on Instagram.
Hey, honestly, like, I don't want to cut you off even at all, but just want to say thank you for having this conversation. Just be willing to take that step. And
I'll try to be just honest.
Yeah.
There's one part of me that like does not like social media. It's like, oh man, this is just like so time consuming and draining. And there's this other part that's like, oh, I can reach more people. I can reach a new audience. I can connect with people. And that's cool. So it's like social media has this, like, to me, very, like two sides, dark and a light, the dark and the light.
That's a lot of things in life right there.
But when it comes to me, it kind of, with content creation, it goes in waves. And I came into my new studio that I built, and then I was really excited. So to share, had this energy to share a bunch of piano tracks. I got a really nice piano and a beautiful studio. And then after a few months, or I don't know if it was even weeks, I'm like, okay, now this like energy just stopped, and I just stopped posting for probably months or weeks. I don't know. But for me, it goes up and down, and like looking at the Instagram algorithm, that's not very good. Because the social media algorithm wants a reel or a carousel like every other day and 5 stories a day. And I don't know if it's that I'm lazy, or if it's, I don't know, if there's something within me. I think it also has to do with like, what do I want to share? Because to me, social media is like unsocial media. And how, because it's kind of like, I'm looking at my own page, social media. I feel like I'm just promoting. And it's like, if I'm going to be, this is going to be social media, I should be social. Like,
imagine that.
In some kind of way, it's hard to have this kind of conversation we have now on social media. With the response, but somehow be more, not private, but be personal. And I mentioned identity. It's like, what kind of content do I want to share? And who am I? Am I an artist? Am I a teacher? Am I a music producer? And to me, like, I think I'm kind of still trying to find who I am in that sense of what I want to share. Like, okay, do I want to share like tutorials of how I make my pads? And is that sustainable for me to do during a long period of time? Can I do tutorials of pads every other day? And I can't do that. And I realized, okay, I can't. I recorded a bunch of piano tracks, and as where I'm right now, I couldn't hold it up posting one piano video. And piano is not teaching, it's more like inspiring. More of the artist. And I couldn't hold that up. I have to post every other day.
Right.
So I landed in that I want to create content that is personal in a way, and that is sustainable. I don't exactly know what that looks like yet, but it has to do with me connecting, trying to find an audience and connect with people. And also somehow sharing my music. I was burnt out on social media. At the same time as I like started up my music career, I also had this side business where my brother, he works in social media. 2 of my brothers. One is digital marketing and one works in influence marketing.
Oh man!
So they gave me
they're all in.
They're all in, and they inspired me. It's like, oh, you should start this account. I think it was 3 years ago, and you should repost content and create this niche channel. So during like 2 years, I worked really hard. Like reposting viral content and creating this niche channel. So I created 3 different channels, and they came up to 50,000 followers.
Wow.
During that point, and then I was like, oh, this is at the same time as I made music, and I'm just going to go with music because this is just too much. And it's not giving me anything.
It's a wise call. And
I'm
to each their own, different for everybody, but I hear you.
And so I'm thinking, I don't know if that I give up so easy is because I'm burnt out. I did it too much.
Sure.
And I just want to create something sustainable that I know that I can post every other day.
Yeah.
And I haven't found exactly what that is.
Yeah.
But what I want it to be is I want it to be relatable and shareable in a way.
Yeah.
Because I just like come in, I consume social media. I enjoy it.
Right.
And I get a lot of tips on how to grow on social media. And I also like love sharing these memes and point of views with my brothers and just share stuff that are relatable. And that's fun.
Yeah.
And we have contact thanks to that.
Yeah.
But I want to create something that is shareable in a sense. So there's going to be 3 people involved. Like me, the viewer, and the person the viewer shares with. So I want it to be something like, I want to inspire.
Yeah.
And I have to do that in 3 seconds.
Right. Yeah. The challenge of a lifetime.
All the thing about like ambient music, it's about, we come on these focus playlists and relaxing playlists, and that's all about being present, being focused, and social media is everything about being not focused. So it's hard for the ambient genre and instrumentalists to keep the attention because the music that we create is so relaxing and slow in a way that it doesn't keep the attention. So I want to create something that is like, hey, how's your day? Maybe you should slow down.
Right.
And have a look at this.
Right.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
So I'm in the process of that right now, of creating some kind of content and try that out for a long period of time.
Yeah.
Because it's not so hard it's uncomfortable, very uncomfortable to talk into your phone.
Sure.
But it's real. It's a person talking and people looking at the other side. And hopefully that can be relatable somehow and turn into something social.
Man, there's so much there, Chris. First of all, thank you for pressing in. And I guarantee you that it is relatable. I guarantee you that your approach, that you're bringing a human approach to it, which is, I think you are just daring to walk a few steps out in front of a lot of us, myself included. But like, I hear you taking steps past some of the initial humps where people are like, man, what stuff do I create? Period. Like, what am I able to? What could I throw on my feed that is somehow related to, the name of this social media channel? But then beyond that, then you start asking the questions of, okay, so how do I get more views? How do I get more followers and things like that? And what directions do you follow with your content to get there? And for me, I get kind of stuck at that point because, and this is, I'm not totally taking a left-hand turn. I think I'm going to be able to land the plane back with where you land. But I get stuck at the trying to figure out what people want to consume because I honestly wonder if, this sounds weird, I honestly wonder if I want people to watch Dear Gravity videos or, to watch what I put out there. And that's not that I don't believe in my music at all by any means. But I think the bigger question is if all of a sudden videos that I'm putting out in social media, if they were to spike an algorithm all of a sudden, would that actually translate into more listeners and more momentum in the department that I genuinely want to create in and that I feel I am actually, productive and prolific in? Or is it just going to mean that if I spike an algorithm that all they're going to want is more and more video from me and that all of a sudden I've almost, like poured fuel on a fire that's burning over here that pulls my attention away from from the thing where it's like I want more followers. Like, do you though? Like, do I want? And so I think that's where I'm wrestling. Like and again, what I don't want to give the impression of is that I think I'm on the precipice of all of a sudden blowing up on a social media platform. Like,
you are.
That's not it.
I believe in you.
Hey, well, we'll see. But if one were to, what I'm not trying to do is come up with a reason why I shouldn't invest into it at all. But the question that I'm asking myself is if I were to, if something that I were to create were to all of a sudden blow up, does that mean that I am just here to now make more videos, or am I able to somehow weave it in a creative way back into more people listening to my stuff, if you know what I mean? And I think one of the things that there's a lot of different things that show up on my feed, my algorithm of different artists who are putting out different videos. And man, it's fun to watch people's approach to putting together these, social media music things. But so very rarely, Chris, does someone's clever or creative or inspiring video, so very little. Like I might follow them. I might say, hey, I want to watch more of your videos, but so very infrequently does that turn me into a listener of theirs. Do I all of a sudden go to whatever Spotify or Apple, Amazon Music, wherever you're consuming your streaming? I can probably count on one hand the number of times where I've seen somebody's social platform or some video that turned me into a listener of theirs. It might turn me into a viewer of theirs. It might add a couple dollars just view wise to their pocket, which lets them make more music or whatever. But I don't know if it makes me a fan of theirs, which for me, I'm trying to figure out if just how that equation exists. And so to come back around to you, like I've seen you, Chris, take and just hearing you sort of affirm it in what you were saying, you've kind of taken steps past that where you're no longer saying like, how do I just make something that people will pay attention to? But rather you're just asking like, what's the purpose?
Yes, that's good. That's good.
Yeah. What is the purpose behind me creating anything, period? And so for you to give people the chance to be inspired. And I love even just some of the little, the captions on your videos where it's just, like I'm going to botch it. I don't know any of them off the top of my head, but there's a lot of, you're speaking of quietness. You're speaking of, to be still, to be calm, to be inspired, to just, take a moment and breathe. And honestly, man, in a world of go, 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 that can be a really nice breath of fresh air. And honestly, I love that that's on your heart to share in the midst of a social media world that is go, 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 go. Will that translate to a bazillion followers? It might, and that'd be really cool. And I'd love that for you. But yeah, I'm finding myself wrestling with, even if one gets a bazillion followers, does that then further propel me towards what I feel is one of my biggest strengths in the space of music? I guess we could even pull the onion back further and say, well, you may think that your biggest purpose in all this is to make music, but maybe it's even beyond that. Maybe your calling is to be an encourager. Maybe your calling is to be one who promotes peace. And perhaps that is done more through video and all the things. Yeah, you can, honestly, I'm so glad you're weighing in on this stuff because I personally, selfishly, I've got a ton of questions on it.
Yeah. To me, like I don't have that many followers. But the conversion from my followers clicking on a story going to Spotify is like 0.1. So to me, social media is one platform with its own life.
Sure.
And it doesn't translate to Spotify. To me, it doesn't. And I don't know how it would be for there are some really great artists and musicians creating amazing content. Yeah. And it would be interesting to ask them, does it translate from social media to Spotify? But I guess to me, like that you said about that I want to be mentioning that I want to be the just ambassador of peace.
Yeah.
Okay, then I'll be that on Instagram. And I am that on Spotify. And hopefully soon on Amazon Music too. Hey. But also like this thought, I don't know if it's synergies. Is that a word?
Synergies? Yeah.
Yeah. Like things happen because of another thing happened because of another thing.
I like that.
And and it's a long shot, but if you get a bunch of Instagram followers and one of those followers is a film producer and he's like, man, I love that song. Do you want to create an original score? That hasn't happened to me, but or a huge label comes and says, man, do you want to release a single with us or an EP or an album? And that happened because of social media, not because of Spotify, but because of social media.
Yeah.
That's like one way or two ways. Yeah. Either being an ambassador or what you believe in.
Yeah.
And synergies.
Yeah. By the way, you should name an EP Synergies. I won't even steal that one from you. That one's that's a
okay.
Good
I got it. I got it. I wrote it down.
That's a good one. I like it. No, you are right, and that's not even a selfish pursuit, right? Where you're saying like the desire for you to give your music the opportunity to go as far as it might. Yeah, that's a great reminder to me, man. Where it is less about how social media, like specifically, like, are you adding listeners on streaming platforms or are you like that sort of thing? Maybe that's not the measuring stick. Maybe it's just, this is something to be faithful with to some degree. And it might be a really important touch point for that one person, just that one opportunity. I'm looking at it in an opportunistic way, not a manipulative way where I need to be everywhere all the time and all that, but to not count it out and to not, that's a really good reminder. Yeah. It's a really good reminder. Yeah.
Going from from creating these niche channels, and that was the goal, to create an online store and sell a product.
Yep.
But now it's like, okay, this is art, and I don't sell anything. I just ask people to listen to my music.
Right.
And they don't have to pay anything. The only thing is I want their time and connection. Yeah. And that is a joy, and I'm thankful for that I don't have to sell anything.
Yeah.
Like, oh, so now I got a bunch of followers. Now I'm going to sell something.
Yeah.
I don't have to sell anything.
Yeah.
And that's nice. I think that's nice.
Yeah, you are just given the opportunity to, a word I would use, really to minister to people. It just with your, like, the ability to sow peace, the ability to bring just a different speed, a different perspective to the harried, hurried life. I think that's a really special thing. Man, if you think about it from that kind of perspective, then even if there's only one person out of maybe thousands of views or hundreds of thousands of views or whatever who is encouraged by that and whose day is brightened by that, and then maybe becomes a listener, that it becomes less about how does this cement my career in the field and how does this further my opportunity to keep doing what and all that, and more about like, how are you doing? Just that one person who needed to see, and believing that it's going to reach them through whatever recommended whatever, the algorithm science that it is. I'm kind of taken aback. I am kind of fascinated by it almost feels like I just keep coming back to the word like almost a ministry opportunity. That's a really interesting way to approach it, because then, I think perspective on it changes dramatically. And you've done such a great job, Chris, of modeling that in what you've been putting out. And there's not a moment where I go through your feed and I'm like, man, Chris is just trying to draw a bunch of attention to himself. That is literally not even close. I don't think in the ambient space, to be very fair, I don't think there's really anyone who's doing something in a way that is just obnoxious or is just bulldozing people's attention and energy. But you've done it in a very encouraging sort of way. And I've learned a lot from that approach, but even more so, just hearing how you came to that approach is just really special, man.
Yeah. Thanks for the encouragement. It's great to talk about. And it really has to be sustainable. Yeah. And I've given a lot of thought, like, okay, what am I going to do? Like this Simon Sinek, start with why. Mm-hmm. And I think that's each producer on the other side. This podcast has to say, like, why am I creating content?
Yeah. Oh, so good, Chris. I feel like we could keep going on this, but I think maybe it's for my own sake, but I think for the sake of everyone listening in on this would be a really good spot to stop and to just encourage. I'm going to set this down, and I'm taking my dog for a walk in about 5 minutes. And so I'm going to just, as I'm perusing the neighborhood, I'm just
record a video of yourself. No.
Yeah. So, no. Oh, that's funny. I'm going to be chewing this over. I want to encourage everyone listening to just stop for a second and to ask some of the questions that Chris has asked himself over, just the recent weeks and months, and the idea of, why do we do what we do? What is the purpose behind the opportunity to post? And is it, like within that, like how can one redeem that as an art form? How can one redeem that as an opportunity to, whether your call is to encourage others or to just whatever that might be for you, how can you specifically look at it maybe just a little bit differently than you did, 30, 40 minutes ago before this conversation began? So, Chris, that's a huge encouragement to me. I know it's an encouragement to a lot of us. Thanks for modeling it well, and thanks for the term, give the gift of going first, where you're daring enough to take that step and then model it for those around you. You have indeed given the gift of going first. So thank you for doing that, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for listening to the All Ambient podcast. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast so you can catch every conversation we have with all these incredible people who share the same passion. I'm looking forward to the next time, and I hope you are too. Can't wait to see you then, and until then, have an incredible day. Here's hoping this music and the heart behind it makes your day and life that much better. We'll see you next time.